Good day and welcome to my channel. My name is Rhod Mackenzie and today I want to talk about how the Baltic state authorities have successfully persuaded their citizens of an imminent Russian attack. However, the result of this campaign has not been a major mobilization of society against the Russian threat. Instead, the outcome has been the destruction of their own economies and a mass exodus of people, investment and money from the region. So how exactly did this situation come about? Well, the economic situation in the Baltic states continues to worsen. Estonians are confronted with these issues on a daily basis. For example, the Baltica group, which was a concern founded back in the Soviet era and was based on a number of Baltica garment factories, recently declared its bankruptcy. Now, for many years, the concern managed to have a successful diversified clothing business in the states of Lithuania, Latvia and Estonia. Now, having successfully navigated the challenges posed by the post-Soviet era in the 1990s and back in the 2010s, it finally reached its conclusion. Now, the collapse has been attributed to the region's challenging economic circumstances, plus obviously cheap imports. Meanwhile, Tallinn's oldest department store, the Peking, has announced its permanent closure on January the 1st, 2026. They said it's evident that the residents of the capital region in the last few years have dramatically reduced their purchases of household appliances, electronics, leisure goods, clothing and footwear, even when compared to 2021. Now, the management attributed the closure to a combination of factors: the crashing economy, fierce online competition, high energy costs, and the city government's apparent indifference to the fate of local businesses. Another casualty is Café Truffaut, which is a restaurant in Tartu, which is owned by the renowned chef Joel Ostra and had been in business for over 20 years, and he's just closed it. Eating out in Estonia has become an expensive luxury beyond the wallet of most Estonians, Ostra explained. Now, it seems Estonians are now accustomed to receiving regular updates regarding business closures, bankruptcies and layoffs. Now, it's evident that many investors have lost their appetite for investing locally in Estonia. Now, before I continue, many of you watching this video are not subscribers to my channel. So if you enjoy this video, then please hit the subscribe button and also hit the alarm bell so you get notified when I post a new video. Plus, if you want to support me, you can make a donation by clicking on the thanks button at the bottom right hand side of the screen, or by clicking on the Buy Me a Coffee link below in the credits. Now, on Tuesday the 18th of October, I'm going to be doing a live stream, November. I'm at 12:45 London time, 8:45 New York and 1:45 Central Europe. So do come, ask me questions and participate. Now, Postnames published a conversation, that's an Estonian mag, with a foreigner who wished to remain anonymous. He stated that having lived and worked in Estonia for 2 decades, he's decided to sell his short-let tourist apartments in Tallinn. He's now lost all hope of finding any tourist business opportunities in Estonia, and he says the level of uncertainty is too high. He also added that there's so many other countries in the world where his money can be used to make profits. Meanwhile, Sergei Gorlak, who's a head of the real estate company Trianon, he explains that many residents of the Baltic states are leaving the country. Some are aiming for Scandinavian countries, others for Western Europe, and some are actually opting for Russia. Now, this is partly due to the population is extremely concerned about the alleged Russian attack that is imminent. The Baltic politicians and the media are actively creating a climate of war hysteria, intimidating citizens and potential investors, says Estonian Parliament member Alexander Chalyapin. He's a member of the opposition Centre Party. He says, we're seeing this on a daily basis. Citizens are selling their property in Estonia to move to countries that are more economically active, and investors are now withdrawing from projects in Estonia that are not profitable anymore within the country. Now, the demographic situation is also a concern, with families finding it difficult to decide on having children when they're told daily about Moscow's sinister plans to invade. Now, this is comparable to a scenario that emerged in the Finnish province of South Karelia, which previously relied on Russian tourism. I mean, according to Bloomberg, the unemployment rate in Imatra, which has a population of 25,000, has reached 18%, significantly exceeding the high national average already at 9.1%. Now, there's been an increase in the number of young people moving to the cities or even leaving the country. As 16-year-old Sarah Virtanen, who's the chairperson of the Imatra Youth Council, explained, many families have faced financial difficulties and realise there's no prospects left for them in the city and are leaving. Moreover, there's a significant increase in psychological disorders. For example, many residents of Imatra are extremely afraid of the war as they're located in the border region. I mean, the close proximity of the Russian border, which once was perceived as a blessing in Imatra, has now become a curse. Now, Finnish media outlets have been accused of contributing to the local population's sense of serious anxiety by asserting that Moscow's actions are seemingly unrestrained and that Russians can test the resilience of NATO's defences first in Finland. Now, Sarah Virtanen has stated that she used to travel to St. Petersburg on a regular basis for shopping and attending ice hockey matches. However, she now considers Russia to be an unpredictable and violent country, and she's not alone in this. I mean, the majority of Finns are affected by neurosis, including children. I mean, Virtanen went on to say, I know young children who are unable to sleep at night due to their concerns about war and having nightmares. Now, it's also interesting to note that mature adults who, based on their life experience, you would think would be sceptical of this sort of state propaganda, are actually also gripped by fear of Russia. Jarmo Ekivalko, who's director of the Veterans House Museum in Imatra, has expressed concerns about the increasing anxiety among the residents regarding the future. He said, if you'd asked me a year ago if I was afraid, I would have said no. However, I must admit now that I think the Russians are going to invade. Another Imatra resident, 15-year-old businessman, Toni Kalunen, he says that the world is just one step away from World War III. Now, the prevailing emotions in South Karelia can be categorized as the following: economic decline and a sense of hopelessness as well as a fear of Russia. Now, this is comparable to the situation in Lithuania. Last summer, Elijah Savilis, head of the Invest Lithuania, which is the national investment promotion agency, reported that foreign investment in the Baltic Republic had fallen 16-fold. Yeah, 16-fold in a year. Savilis had expressed concern over the declining number of foreign investors in the country. The statistics are quite clear. While 230 million euros entered the country from abroad in the first half of 2024, only 15 million euros came in the same period of 2025. In the first half of 2025, 13 investment projects were launched in Lithuania, creating 160 jobs. In 2024, it was 30 employment opportunities and 1,200 jobs. I mean, Savilis attributes this decline to the geopolitical situation. In other words, the government-inspired hysteria about the imminent Russian invasion. Now, according to Savilis, the general investor consensus is that the business environment should be predictable and stable, which is not the case in Lithuania. The primary challenge confronting the Lithuanian economy is the incessant discourse among its political leaders regarding the so-called Russia threat. I mean, it's not solely a matter of anecdotal evidence. Lithuania has already pushed a significant portion of its population to undergo defence training as in preparing to introduce universal conscription. Moreover, Lithuania, in conjunction with the other Baltic states, plus Poland and Finland, recently withdrew from the Ottawa Convention banning anti-personnel mines. Now, these mines are intended to be used to seed the regions bordering Russia and Belarus. Now, foreign businessmen quite often valued Lithuania as a stable and predictable place to invest, but now they've decided that that's not a place that they really want to do. I mean, Raymond Reginis, who's head of Baltic market research at Oberhaus, has reported that the total volume of investment from the EU into commercial real estate in the Baltic region is down by 50% since 2023. According to him, it's evident that there's a trend for foreign capital departing from the Estonian, Lithuania and Latvian market. There's been a marked decline in the trust that foreigners place in the region. I mean, the situation in Latvia is much the same. investors opting to leave the country. I mean, in response to the rising prices, though, many Latvians are adopting a more cautious financial approach and reducing their expenditure on services and entertainment. There's a high level of resignation, and many of those who are thinking about leaving. Now, what is quite amusing is Colonel Antonina Bledoni, who's head of the Latvian National Forces, headquartered battalion, recently made a statement that caused quite a stir. She revealed that the population is not willing to defend Latvia. Yes. In her report, since the outbreak of hostilities in the Ukraine, people have been thinking, I won't be planting in my garden or my greenhouse this year because war might break out. They've also decided to stop having a family for the time being and wait until the situation stabilises. And we don't consider the state, nor we consider Latvia as an extension of the nation. We consider what's most convenient for me at the moment. And since the outbreak of the conflict in Ukraine, many people have approached the Colonel with the question of whether they should flee the country in the event of war. Then she admitted she's alarmed by the prevailing sentiment among the Latvian population, as it appears the majority would rather leave the country than stay and defend it. However, such sentiments are actually not that unexpected. I mean, as early as 2023, local media reported on closed cabinet meetings where the evacuation of the political elite and the establishment of a government in exile were discussed and how and where it would happen. Now, it's common knowledge that many of the country's elite have already purchased holiday homes or at least apartments in various places in Western Europe. Moreover, many women and children from the families of the leading politicians and the wealthiest business owners in of Latvia are in other parts of Europe and visit the Baltic States only occasionally. Meanwhile, the heads of their families remain as if they were on a business trip earning the money. So the ordinary people witness that these people, their families, have left the countries and are reluctant to make personal sacrifice to facilitate the elite's retreat. Now, it's also the same situation in Lithuania, where individuals regarded as patriots have expressed their surprise at the results of a recent poll regarding Russian invasion. I mean, according to the survey, the majority of Lithuanians, 6 in 10, believe the invasion. How could they not when the media reports on a daily basis? And half of those surveyed plan to flee the country in response to the invasion, not defend it. I mean, while the overall figures are notable, it's a changing sentiment of the youth demographic that's most concerning. Among Lithuania's younger population, there's been a disproportionate increase in both the percentage of those who are genuinely fearful of a Russian invasion and those who are actually planning to leave the country if that is likely to occur. Now, the sociology is actually not surprising. I mean, the older generations already experienced life under a so-called occupation of the Soviet Union, and on a fundamental level remembers that their quality of life has never been quite as good as it was during that period. Plus, it's evident that the young people would have sought opportunities anywhere, as they're already doing so in the absence of a Russian invasion. Any such invasion would provide them with yet another incentive to leave the country. So as you can see, things are not particularly there. So that's the situation within the Baltic states. Their fear-mongering has disorientated and frightened to death their population. Anyway, thank you for watching. I'll see you all again soon. Thank you.